Hey guys, I would like to welcome you to this webinar. We will be talking about how to hire Java developers. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael, and I'm part of the group of technical leaders and CTOs who have hired dozens of developers. Like in my case, it's been dozens of developers over the course of 5 years when I was a CTO in Bangkok in Asia. And it was always relatively easy for me to interview developers, to talk to them about whatever small talk topics, to assess their performance. And only recently I realized how difficult it is for technical recruiters to source, to interview, to evaluate developers, because they don't have that solid technical foundation. So if you are like one of the recruiters who maybe in the past hired executive roles, or maybe project managers, or maybe some roles outside of the IT, outside of technical positions, then you may actually welcome our initiative. You may want to become part of the Geek Recruiter Academy, because these technical leaders, these CTOs, are keen to teach recruiters the technologies, to understand the technology landscape, to understand what are the differences between technologies, what frameworks are there, and so on. So we don't just want you guys to become a little better technical recruiter, because in fact, most of the tasks that usually majority of the recruiters do could be automated in the future. Just going through LinkedIn profiles and sourcing, and then selecting or whatnot. This is something that is likely to be automated, all these assessments. But we want you guys to become business partners, like a full-fledged business partner to a CTO, to an IT director, where you can really bring some additional value to the table. And you would be able to say, hey, it doesn't make sense to hire 2 Java developers and 1 JavaScript developer. Why don't you just work with 2 Python developers and 1 whatever, so that you would be able to advise on how to compose the team, how to restructure the team, how to work with remote developers, where to source remote developers, how to monitor performance of the remote developers. So you would not be just administrative person going through CVs, but you would bring additional value to the table. So this is something we would like to teach you guys. I'm sure it's not easy. Never, no one said it's easy, but this is something that could get you to the next level. So next, I would like to mention why there are technical leaders here and not technical recruiters presenting as lectures. It's because I think technical leaders are best equipped to interview and evaluate developers, right? This is something they even are supposed to do, but maybe they're just overwhelmed, so they outsource this responsibility or this task to recruiters. But usually recruiters don't know the technology, so it's difficult for them to bring proper candidates, and the whole cycle gets even worse with all these new technologies, and the gap gets wider and wider. So that's why we wanted to include the technical leaders, ex-CTOs, inside the academy, who would give you the insights about technologies, the first-hand insight, like how would a CTO who works with Ruby on a daily basis, how would he or she interview a Ruby developer? And this I think will be super helpful for you. Today we will be talking about how to hire Java developers, right? So maybe we will leave Ruby for the next time. We are open for suggestions. We are just keen to hear what do you guys struggle with in terms of technical recruitment. How can we help you understand some of these topics? We organize webinars. You can join the Geek Recruiter Academy to learn more. So let's dive right in. How to hire Java developers. I've prepared some notes, so I think first we need to lay down the foundation. There is a huge difference between Java and JavaScript, and this is no joke. I'm sure lots of people laugh about recruiters who mix up Java and JavaScript. So I hope by now it's obvious it's not the same. But let's look at why it is not the same. What are the differences? Okay, so Java and JavaScript. So these are two different worlds. Both are used for backend and frontend. Backend and frontend. We need to realize what frameworks are used for backend and frontend. What does it mean frontend? Frontend is something a user interacts with. It could be totally different, like it could be a mobile app and it could be a website, and this is precisely what happens here. Let me grab a different color. So here we have mobile app as a front end. Okay, so mobile app, you know that Google pushes Android as the open source operating system for mobile phones, and the apps that you as a say development studio or a company writes are written in Java. Okay, so Java is used to build mobile applications. I'll write here Android. Okay, so Android here. And now on the backend side, you might have heard about Java Standard Edition, Java Enterprise Edition, okay, or J2EE. Although the 2 was dropped, so there is a Java EE. Okay, so J2EE, so Java Standard Edition and Java Enterprise Edition. We will talk about some of the frameworks later on today. So by now we need to separate backend, frontend, mobile app, and JavaScript also could be used on backend, which was introduced by Facebook when they released Node.js. I'm already thinking about the next point, which will be React. So Facebook released React. Node.js wasn't released by Facebook. So here I wanted to write Node.js. Okay, Node.js. And here on the front-end side, again, we can distinguish between web applications and mobile applications. So I'll separate it like this. So here we have, web app, and we have also mobile app. And this is really interesting because with JavaScript you can write cross-platform mobile apps with frameworks such as Titanium Accelerator, or PhoneGap, or Ionic, or React Native. Okay, so I will clean this whiteboard in a while. So if you guys want to really get most out of the webinar today, I suggest you take some notes. So here on the mobile side, front end, you should write that there are these frameworks such as Ionic, PhoneGap. What else is there? React Native, and what else? Titanium I mentioned already. Okay, so these four. And the web, let me grab what color? Green color. So here we have jQuery, for example. Although jQuery is already considered as obsolete, it was trending in 2012, 13, 14 or so, but now it is it's already fading out. So jQuery, but here we have Vue.js. I will not go into details on that part because we focus on Java today, how to hire Java developers. Okay, so let's not spend too much time on the right part of the board. We want to focus on how to hire Java developers. So by now it should be clear that Java is used on backend, but Node.js is a framework that is used by JavaScript and not by Java. Okay, so I'll draw a line here, and we will focus only on this part. Okay, only on how to hire Java developers, not how to hire JavaScript developers. Okay, is that clear? Okay, now second. Second, I would like to mention what Java actually could be used for in general, because you saw the backend and frontend, but what else? I usually have a matrix like this: backend, front end. So this is more of an, you can imagine it as an web, web apps. Then we have mobile, Android, and we have iOS, and then what else I have here? Desktop and IoT, and data. So inside the academy, we usually go through a matrix like this across all the languages. So then when you start comparing, like, what about SQL? SQL could be used for data query. Some, like, for example, R language could also be used for data science, or Python could be used for data science. Can Java be used for to query data? Well, not really, although of course Java is used to build applications that work with database, but it doesn't directly query the data. You still use say SQL to query data, or you use a framework in Java, for example, Hibernate, that takes care of it. But Java is not primarily used as a language to pull data from database. So I'll cross it like this. Then, can it be used to build desktop applications? Well, of course. Can it be used to build Internet of Things applications, IoT? Yes, of course. Can it be used to build Android applications? Yes, of course. That's what we already talked about. Can it be used to build iOS applications? Well, no, not really. Can it be used to build backend and front-end applications? Yes and yes. Okay, so this is a matrix that we cover, or we go through. When we cover all the programming languages, we go through the whole technology map, and then you start seeing some patterns. You start seeing, okay, Java is for some of these app applications, while, for example, Python could be used for something else, or PHP could be used only for this part. In PHP, you cannot build Android applications. And then as soon as you realize this, you don't ever ask a stupid question developer. I mean, not just this, but some of these principles that we teach inside the academy. Okay, next. Okay, next I would like to talk about some of the frameworks that Java developers use. So the frameworks, I'll just write it like this: frameworks. And the frameworks are, for example, I have it also written here so that I don't forget any. So for example, well, there are really lots of frameworks, but now I'm more focused on some of the mainstream frameworks that pretty much everyone knows. Okay, so for example, Spring and Hibernate. These two, I would say, are the most common. Then there are some more, like Grails, or what else? Struts. Okay, so there is no need to cover the whole list of say 100. You just need to know, for example, what as soon as you see a CV and you see the developer works with Spring Framework or Hibernate Framework, then it should immediately ring a bell like, okay, this is a Java developer that works on the backend side. Okay, so these are for the backend development. So these are not frameworks to build mobile apps, but these, like on Android, but these are the frameworks used to build web apps. For example, here Java Server Faces is another framework. It's mostly used to build user interface. Okay. So that's it from these frameworks. Usually, how I use it when I talk to developers. So for example, when I was hiring or helping to hire one of the positions recently, I knew they're looking for a Java developer, and the developer was supposed to work with Spring framework because the client used Spring framework. So the first question that that you should have is, hey, or when you talk to a developer, hey, are you a Java backend developer? Yes or no? And the developer says, yeah, I'm a backend developer. And then you can say, okay, do you work with Spring? Like, have you used Spring framework or on any of your past applications? Yes or no? And even this is important. Even if the developer says no, it is fairly easy to learn some of these frameworks, because these are just frameworks. Okay, these are not languages. So a language is Java or Python or I don't know, PHP. Those are languages, and it's not that easy to learn a new language and get really proficient in it. But it's relatively easy to adopt a framework. So as a developer, if you work with Java for 5 years, you build a Spring and applications in Spring and Java Server Faces, then it could be really easy for you within 2 weeks to learn how to use Hibernate. So even if you have a client that asks for someone who works with Hibernate and the developer only uses Spring, I would say it's not a big issue, because you can still upskill the developer relatively quickly to become a great Hibernate developer, because he will be a great senior Java developer, and that is usually enough. You can learn how to use Hibernate within a week or two or so. Okay, so this is the second thing I wanted to mention. So you have a Java as a programming language, then you have a framework as something that sets some rules. The framework actually impacts how the application is built, so it lays down some foundation. There are some folders, there are some templates, there are some structure, we could say, and then the developer writes the code within the structure, within the boundaries. So these are the frameworks that each of them could be used for different thing. Some framework is good for, say, lightweight application because it's optimized for performance. Some framework could be used for building UI, user interface application, and so on. Okay, so that was the next topic. And next, I would like to mention a few more topics, such as you need to know, for example, what version of Java language is the most recent, so you can interview developers and ask some of these questions, because it could indicate if the candidate is the right fit for a certain position, yes or no. So let's look at Java Standard Edition. Okay, so here we have, I have it written here so I don't forget any version. So Java 7, Java Standard Edition version 8, Java Standard Edition version 9, Java Standard Edition version 10, Java Standard Edition version 11. Okay, this was in 2018 and this was in 2011. Okay, and this is somewhere in between 14 and 2017. And this is also 2018. Okay, so Java Standard Edition. Java Standard Edition is the core. You know, there is also Enterprise Edition, but the Standard Edition is the core. So for example, we have the core functionality for, say, I'll write it here. Networking, user interface, you know, graphical user interface, or security. Yeah, and so on. So this is the Java Standard Edition. This is the core, and then we have Java Enterprise Edition. Okay, Java Enterprise Edition. Where do I have it? I have it here. So this is the here comes the confusion. J2EE and JEE. You know, it shouldn't actually be even JE. It should be Java EE, like Java Enterprise Edition. So J2EE version 1.0 was in 1999. Okay, J2EE, and then in 2009 we had Java EE. This was in 2009. Up. And then Java EE, oh sorry, I didn't have a version here, so it was 6. And then here was 7, and Java EE 8. So 9, 13, and 2017. Okay, so 6, 7, 8. These are the versions that you most likely hear about: 2006, 7, and 6, 7, and 8, 2009, 13, and 17. So if there is a client, if there is a company still using the version 6, well, that's already so obsolete that not many Java developers want actually to work with it, because there is lots of legacy code. So again, what does it tell you? As soon as someone says, hey, you know, we work with Java version 6, then it immediately should ring some bells in your head or mind, and think, okay, this is 2009 when the Java was released, so those guys must have a lot of legacy code. And then you need to start hiring people who actually I don't want to say like to work in such an environment, but you know, what do you offer them to offset the very old version, the legacy system? You know, do they get paid more than all these guys who work with the latest version, or do you find a way how to get the client to upgrade at least part of the system to the version 8, so you can present it to developers like, hey, we have a client here, they work with Java Enterprise Edition version 8, so you know, it's all cool and fancy. So these are some of the things that you need to think about when you work with the clients, and then you are selling the role to developers. Okay, so in the ideal world, you would only work with the version 8. In the worst case, you work with version 6. Okay, and 7 is somewhere in between. Still not great, but at least it's not 6. Okay, so this is what I wanted to mention. Let me go through my notes really quickly to see if I didn't forget anything. Okay, so out of this, I still would like to keep it short in this webinar, in this video. I would like to sum it up and leave 2 or 3 notes at the end. So first, first, you cannot mix up. Like there are some things that you shouldn't ever say. Like don't mix up Java and JavaScript. Make sure that you really understand the different frameworks that we had here. What is on backend on Java, what is on backend on the JavaScript side. So there was Node.js, and here is Java Enterprise Edition and Java Standard Edition. Some of the frameworks. What are the frameworks for Java? Well, we've seen Spring, Hibernate. So again, look for clues. Look for clues when you interview a developer. Just ask him like, hey, what framework do you use when building applications? And then he says, hey, I use React. And then you immediately know he's a JavaScript developer. He works with front-end applications. He builds front-end applications. If the developer answers, hey, I use Spring, I use Hibernate, I use Google Web Toolkit, is the GWT, I use Google Web Toolkit, then you already know, aha, this is a Java developer. He works on the backend side. And if a developer says like, yeah, I'm an Android developer, then you know, aha, you are a Java developer who actually builds Android applications and not backend systems. So this is something I wanted to share with you before I show you a few profiles. So let me go through the profiles, and then we will wrap it up. Okay. So I have opened a few profiles. Like this is the first one. It's sort of random. I just searched for Java developer, and this is one of the first profiles I saw. So Jakub is a Java developer. What you could see on his profile immediately, he focuses on backend developer with Java and Spring. So by now you know the Java is a framework, is a language, and Spring is a framework. I now almost mixed it up. So that's pretty much what you need to know. He uses version systems, Git, Subversion. This is just such a minor information. I wonder why he even puts it here. Like everyone uses version systems, right? Who doesn't these days use version systems? So let's not go through the full profile. I just wanted to highlight what it looks like when you find a Java developer. You could see here, for example, Hibernate. Again, we talked about Spring and Hibernate as some of the Java frameworks. So you could see here his endorsements for Java Server Faces. Again, a framework to build graphical user interface. So you immediately know, okay, this is that kind of developer. Cool. Next profile will be, who will be next profile? Java developer at Lumesse. So Java developer, what could we see here? You could see he uses Java 8. So he actually proudly writes on his profile that he uses the latest Java Enterprise Edition, right? Version number 8 with Spring, Hibernate, and that's pretty much it. What you also see here, and this is sometimes really tricky because he also uses JavaScript, but he's a Java developer. So you may wonder, how can a Java developer use JavaScript? Well, it's actually fairly simple because Java is a language used to build web applications. So for example, to connect to a database, pull data, process it, create a website, and then send the website to a client. So from the server to a client, to a user. And then sometimes on the client side of the website, you have sitting a person like me now, looking at a screen, and there is a little JavaScript running on the website that, for example, hides a field or displays different text, or make something dynamically. It could be dynamic pricing based on the location of user and so on. So still, Java developers may use JavaScript as a language. So don't get tricked, okay? You could see he was a Java developer in the past. So this is a clear profile. He started in 2012 as a junior software developer, then Java developer, and he just is still a Java developer. What else? Spring, Hibernate, that's classic. Cool. Next. looking at no, this is just a list. Okay, let's look at an Android developer. This is Richard. He's an Android developer. I maybe just wanted to demonstrate what it looks like when a developer is an Android developer. He still uses Java, so somewhere on his profile you may find Java as a language, but by now you know that Java is used to build, you know, the backend part of it, and also to build mobile applications. So this is the developer who uses Java to build Android applications. So often the developers don't write, hey, I'm a Java developer. They write, I'm an Android developer. But in fact, they are Java developers building Android applications. What I can only assume is the reason why he, you know, put it this way. It actually may be because the recruiters were approaching him with Java development positions, while he was not looking for any, because he builds Java applications for mobile. Okay, senior Android Java Kotlin developer. Now, as soon as, for example, you could see Kotlin here. Well, Kotlin is a relatively new programming language used to build Android applications. So here immediately with this, you could see, aha, so Kotlin is used to build mobile apps. So most likely he used also Java to build mobile apps on Android. And yeah, here we can see he is a senior Android developer. What else? What could we see in his bio? Something? No. Android developer, Android developer, Android developer. Okay, well, nothing too much. We don't want to read all the text, but you could see at least, you know, you would find this developer based on keyword search. You know, he would pop up as Java developer. Well, that's actually what happened, because I was looking for a Java developer and he was in the results. But you could see that he would not be a good fit for Java Enterprise Edition project. Okay, and the last one, would be Piotr. He's a Java developer. He works as Java developer for the last I don't know, few years. Sorry. You could see here Spring Framework again, hidden somewhere in the skills and endorsements. Okay, so I think we've covered all the profiles I wanted to go through. So by now you should have a better understanding how to find a Java developer on LinkedIn. You know what to look for, what to, you know, what are the keywords. If it is a Spring developer, you know where to put him. If it is you know, this kind of developer. So this is again an introduction. We cannot cover, you know, everything in this rather short webinar. I'm sure we could dive deeper. This is actually what we do inside the academy. You know, we look at, you know, what are more keywords, how to interview a developer. You know, what kind of questions to ask him or her. And this is something we could maybe cover in the next webinars. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I know sometimes it's better to have a, you know, 20-30 minute long video than to have a, you know, 2 hour long video and then you don't even end up watching it. So what is really important is to realize that we are here to help recruiters, you know, just like you, to understand the technologies, to figure out what to ask a developer, what questions would you ask a recruiter who would be on an interview. So for example, this Java developer, you know, what would a CTO ask a recruiter during not a recruiter but a developer during an interview? You know, what would be the questions, and then based on the answers, what would the CTO think eventually? So this is the knowledge we could bring to the table and share with you guys inside the academy. We are keen to help you transform from just being you know, administrative, you know, person looking through a CV and then passing, whatever leads to hiring manager, to become a full end-to-end hiring partner who knows where to find great developers, who works with remote companies all over the world. Because today, a developer doesn't need to sit in your office. The developer could be in, on the other part of the world and still deliver great results, providing he's well managed. The proper performance management is set in place. And again, this is something we are about to discuss inside the Geek Recruiter Academy. So if you like what you just heard, I hope you will join us inside the academy. We are just starting out, but we have a long list of content to create, a lot of people to interview and ask about their insights. So I hope to share all this with you. So with that, let me wrap it up, and I wish you a wonderful day.